Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, it's time! Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! Float game for the win! Ayler's gone! Come on, touchdown, Indy! Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now!
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Day, and that is always a good thing. Welcome aboard another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Jim Coyle with you as always. Glad to have you along. Very happily having you along, no matter where or how you're listening on one of our great radio station affiliates, like 97.7 ESPN The Ref. Always the right call down in Evansville. Up in the region, the voice of the region, 1230 AM, 104.7 FM WJOB, and Fort Wayne's only sports station, 1380 The Fan. You've already got it locked in the right spot on your radio dial. Leave it right there for all day long for great sports coverage. And if you're following along on social media, glad to have you along. Please do the kindness of hitting the like button and subscribe button there. And appreciate all that as well. Lots to look forward to today. Shot Father will be joining us. Of course, Todd Larry. Zach Osterman from the Indy Star, IU beat writer, and Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com will join us. First up, actually, we'll switch him and Todd today. Let's see, what else is going on? Is this the weekend of the Open over in across the pond? I think they're in Ireland. Is that where it is being played this year, I believe? Because a friend of mine, Brett Hutton, is over there. Yeah, Portrush, Northern Ireland, home of Rory McIlroy. He plays out of Northern Ireland. So, boy, that'll be a toughie. Wind and just all those conditions. If you're ever played golf, man, mercy. Hello to everybody. Morning to Mr. Fulton Mraz. It's his big birthday week coming up. So big celebration for Fulton. Congratulations, sir. Hope you're having a great one. And to everybody else jumping on the hotline here. Appreciate you joining us and commenting along the way. Hope everybody's had a good week and ready for a weekend. A lot of rain this week, man. We've had a lot of rain, period. More so than normal, it seems. So I guess a good thing a little bit. The lake is up, that's for certain. The Lake Monroe, you've got that thing growing, which it had been down. So I guess it's a good thing that you get to see that. The boaters especially will like that. Always nice to have more than necessary, I assume. But I don't know how does that affect the fishing when it gets up that much? Does it stir it up? What does it do? Very curious. So I know there's some fishermen out there. I think Ross was a fisherman. So what happens when you get all that extra rain? What does that do? Because we've had not just one rain. I mean, the lake is up and it had been down for quite some time. So that's good to see. Replenishing of the earth. But yeah, we'll have no lack of water this year, which is a great thing. Lots of basketball going on this weekend. Look forward to talking to Alec Lasley when he joins us here in a little bit at the top of the hour. As down in South Carolina, you've got the EYBL circuit going on, the 3SSB going on. all kinds of things happening during this July evaluation period. Also at the Hoosier.com, Luke Goode, they go through he takes them through the process of the appeal process and how all that went and what's up next for him. I have to try to get him on the show here sometime soon to go over all that. So hear him in his own words talk about that. But he speaks very highly of Coach DeVries, and throughout the process, he maintained the mindset that it would get denied. And if it got accepted, it would just be happy news, which is the way to do things. So he wanted to prepare himself if it were denied because the odds were not in his favor. He told WANE News on Thursday, which I believe that's in Fort Wayne, right? So, yeah, because he's from Fort Wayne. So, all of our Fort Wayne listeners, no more Luke Goode, unfortunately. His career has come to a close. Now, someone who has not come to a close, how about Victor Oladipo eyeing a comeback after a 2-year absence in the league? Former Indiana guard and number 2 overall pick, Victor Oladipo, trying to make a comeback. Last appeared in an NBA game in 2023 with the Miami Heat. He's been gearing up for a return. That potential return was on display over the last few days with a combination of a Twitter post as well as a group workout in Las Vegas in front of NBA executives and scouts. So he's basically a free agent. He says, I feel so great right now, better than I felt in the last 7 years, mind, body, and soul, per his post. I know I am a fighter. I know I am a warrior. I have seen even every lens this game and this league has to offer. I know I can help any team in any role win in any way. I also know that people want to see me succeed in this game. So, Oladipo trying to make it a run. And, hey, if anybody can do it, he probably can. This is the guy that was a 3-star recruit originally and made his way up to being the number 2 pick in the draft through sheer hard work, his 3-point shooting, all that stuff. You know, he had athletic ability when he started. That's it. Athletic ability and effort. And it took him a long, long way. So he was a 2-time All-Star. And we wish him the best. Like to see how that goes out for him. We'll keep you updated. He's appeared in 504 career games already and holds a 17 points per game average. Not bad. Shooting over nearly 44% from the field and nearly 35% from 3 career. Those are not bad career numbers, man. Not bad at all, if I say so myself. So we got that going for him, which is also nice. So wishing Victor the best. Hopefully he can make it back. He was a self-made man. There's no doubt about that. Came out of the DMV, baby. And now you've got an assistant coach who is also recruiting that area very, very heavily. Kenny Johnson does a great job over there. Who's the next one to come out of there? As a matter of fact, is Kenny Johnson who found him originally? Because that's about that right timeline. So probably how that happened, if I had to stop and think about it. But all of that and more at thehoosier.com right now, including what's coming up this weekend and with the basketball evaluation, also ranking each football position group. The offensive line, number 1, that's big. The offensive line is the highest ranked in Colin McMahon's piece out there at thehoosier.com. He has got the offensive line ranked number 1, which should make all Hoosiers very happy. Amazing to see the offensive line ranked as the top spot of all the positions on that football team. Let's see why. with it not only being the most important unit on the field, but also extremely talented across the board. While there are expected to be 3 transfer starters when the Hoosiers take the field, that's of uber importance. I don't care where they come from, but 3 transfers that will start. Pat Coogan came in from Notre Dame, of course, at center. Zen Mikowski at tackle came in from Ohio State, went to Floyd Central High School. And Khalil Benson, former Hoosier, so he's still a transfer, but he's a former Hoosier. And you've got Carter Smith and Bray Lynch make up 2 returners to be part of the unit for IU. Drew Evans coming off of the season-ending injury, so you get him back. Could be just, again, health, staying healthy, depth. That's the key for this offensive line. They are good, but can they stay healthy? That is going to be a big time important deal for that unit. Number 2, man, he's got running backs ranked there, which is another great thing. And then followed by the quarterback. So that's, of course, that's just Collins' perception with wide receiver at number 4, tight end number 5. Oh, okay. He must be just doing the offense. My bad. That makes sense. Yeah, okay. Offensively, still great to see that the offensive line is the number 1 unit, followed by running backs and then a quarterback. Wide receivers, 4th, and the tight ends, 5th. Makes sense. That's about how you'd like to see it, probably. As Robert points out, 43 days until IU football, the truth. And that is the truth, baby. It's going to be happening as soon as it comes around. Hey, we're going to take a break. When I come back, Alec Lasley will join us. We'll talk some hoops as there is a ton going on this weekend and continuing. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, back with more on the other side.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from Andy Moore Honda dealer, and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum, Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle here all this Friday. Glad to have you along, and glad to have our good friend Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com. How are you, sir?
Doing well. How are you doing?
Cannot complain. Don't forget, you can get a subscription to thehoosier.com right now, just $1 for your first month, 50% off the entire first year. and the content is flowing, complete with inside information across both sports and specifically basketball right now. There's a lot going on the grassroots circuit, Alec.
Yeah, absolutely. Last live evaluation period in July here this weekend. So last kind of real time for coaches to get out on the road, see some of these either high priority targets or some guys that are kind of flying underneath the radar. But obviously for Indiana, kind of the big couple storylines that have come out of the last few weeks are really starting to see who they're prioritizing and who is prioritizing Indiana on the flip side too. So you're starting to really kind of round out, I would say the top, 4 or 5, really, really key targets from an Indiana perspective over the last kind of week and a half. Really starting to narrow in on, Latrell Almond, and Free Diane. And Derek Hack is kind of, I would say on that middle part of the first tier as of this point. Cole Clory on the kind of end of that. He's probably still has some ground to make up. But then you have Tay Kinney, you have Darren Rippey. So you're really starting to kind of narrow in on who these guys are that Indiana is really attacking. And then, like I said, on the flip side, a lot of these guys that are now starting to narrow down their recruitments here over the next probably 2 weeks and get visits set up, start to trim lists, and ultimately, make some fall decisions. And there's a lot from an Indiana perspective that are starting to do that here over the next month.
Well, I see one of the things is Aiden Durkak does he have a scheduled visit with Indiana?
Yeah, not at the moment. Indiana's really pushing to get that done. I think this is going to be, and we talked about this on our message boards here yesterday, I think it was. This is going to be an important weekend, I think, for Indiana's recruitment with him and vice versa here. Indiana's been pushing over the last, I would say, week and a half to 2 weeks to really set up this visit. He's a guy who's kind of on the back half of his recruitment already. Someone who's not going to be making a super long, drawn out process here over the kind of future months. So he's someone that if he's going to be ultimately needs to get solidified, I would say coming out of this weekend. Still a lot of time for that to truly happen. A lot of these schools are either talking with the prospects right now to get these visit dates solidified. And it's just about kind of figuring out those details. I mean, you look at Darren Rippey, a guy who set up his visit for October here for homecoming weekend last weekend. He has, I think, 8 official visits set up. So a lot of these guys are going through just kind of final details of getting everything fully solidified. But yeah, he's a guy that, I would say from an Indiana perspective, they've prioritized over the last couple live periods. So you need to get that visit set up here early on here in the coming days.
And Latrell Almond, from the outside, it looks like Indiana is in pretty good position with him, along with mainly because of Rod Clark, who was recruiting him at Tennessee, and with Tennessee being one of his suitors right now, but not a lot of other serious ones outside of that.
Yeah, I mean, Latrell Almond has been, the priority target outside of Prince Alexander Moody, obviously, for the 2026 class. A guy that, really has not seen a lot of new schools even jump into his recruitment. It's almost very similar to that Prince Alexander Moody recruitment, where a lot of schools almost at this point, I don't want to say expect to work or to try to put in the legwork if they know kind of what that end result's going to be. All the, everything at this point, points to Indiana being the team to truly beat. Tennessee still has connections there. Virginia has connections. I would say those are probably the top 2. Oklahoma State has been around that recruitment for quite some time with some other relationships there. But yeah, both Rod Clark and Kenny Johnson as well have done a terrific job in that recruitment, and that's one that the interest was very high coming into his visit last month, and remained very high coming out of it, and still to this point is not set up any other visits. And so I think this weekend, again, as much as it was with Dirkak, is going to be very similar to what we're seeing with Latrell Allman. Is if he doesn't come out of this weekend with either any new schools that jump into that recruitment or any other visit shot for where Indiana stands, and more so where he stands in his recruitment in terms of not really wanting to go out and explore other programs at that point.
Yeah, and it's going to be key because there have been so many players out there that they have been watching so much time that you're putting in on so many different guys. You're not going to get them all. If you're going after 20, you're probably hoping to get 10%. I'm not sure what the thought is. Of course, you want as many as you can get, obviously. But how many are they truly looking for, though, when it comes down to it? Because in this day and age, I just I just don't see you wanting to bring in more than 4 freshmen on a team.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? For this upcoming year, you're for the 2026 cycle, you're probably going to look at a larger class, just due to the fact that you brought so many transfers in that will be leaving after this year, and you don't want to have to replenish that through the transfer portal again, just like you did. The biggest thing that I think you're going to be looking at is for probably two guys that'll come in day one and be a priority player in the lineup. And then you'll look at 2 that may be a little bit more developmental that'll probably be in the back half of the rotation and try to find a way.
Let me, I don't mean to interrupt you there. I'm going to have you go out and come back in because you're perfect, coming across great to me. You sound great, but apparently some people are saying that they're having interruption problems. So go out, come back in, and we'll get you going again just to make sure that that's not an issue. We want to make sure that the sound is great, although it sounds perfect to me. But no issues. Looking forward to getting Alec back here in just a second because there is a lot going on, like I said, down in was it Georgia and South Carolina with the Peach Jam and all of that stuff going on and happening that will continue as this comes to a head here soon. And then we've got the TBT starting tomorrow night, right up the road at Hinkle Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. Not sure how many of you are heading up there. I did see that a lot of the day passes or the session passes were sold out, although there are individual tickets still remain, as a matter of fact, for individual games. So there's not an issue with there. So if you want to get a ticket to the games, you can still do so. Session passes, all session passes are sold out, but we'll check that out. Alec Lasley back with us again. So how's that, brother? Hopefully we're doing a better job for him. Although normally if it's cutting out for me, it's cutting out on my end, but I'm not seeing that issue.
Yeah, I mean it looks fine for me, but we'll see. It maybe on the overall feed.
Technology, not always our friend.
It's a Friday. It's a little slow to get going here this morning.
Not even the 13th, is it? No, we just missed that. But yeah, this is like the culmination of the basketball. When does all this come to a head? The championships for all of these.
Yeah, it'll end this weekend. Adidas ended last week. They have still a live period this weekend just because it still is a live session. But the championships happened last weekend. Peach Jam and Nike wraps up this weekend. And then that's when you start to see a lot of visits happen here over the next month and a half. And obviously you get into August, you get into September, where typically you have visits almost every single weekend that it allows. So this is the kind of the culmination of the summer here over the next few days for at least Nike's perspective.
And how about Adidas, the Adidas?
Yeah, Adidas wrapped up last weekend with their championships. They still have that live period, though, this week, just like every other circuit does. But this is the weekend that everything will wrap up. Adidas, Nike, Under Armour, Puma, some of the other circuits as well, with it aligning again with the second and final here live weekend for the evaluation period in July.
So what is up next now for this coaching staff in Indiana? They've gone out, they've done all these evaluations. You're trying to establish, or not establish, but solidify these relationships and get some answers.
Yeah, so I mean, the biggest thing is you want to make sure that you can land Latrell Allman. That's step number one. You want to make sure that you can, really start to move into the next step with the point guards, Darren Rippey, Tay Kinney, the two that have scheduled visits here upcoming within the next couple of months. You're probably going to see a couple more visits scheduled here, probably not in August, but looking into the beginning of September. Irfan Diane, another name that will be most likely visiting Indiana. And that's a very dominant big man, the number 2 center in the class. Indiana has very, very strong ties to not only him, but also his AAU program, Iowa United. Darren DeVries knows him going back to his Drake days. Drew Adams was recruiting him at Cincinnati. So you have multiple different connections here. Talking with his guardian a few times. The connection that they also have to a mutual friend with Omar Ballo is obviously something that you don't typically get with other schools there. Just due to the fact that obviously you're going to have a different coaching staff, but the player relationship is still there through a mutual connection. So there's a lot of different areas that Indiana has doors open with in that recruitment. Ethan Taylor, number 1 center in the class, another guy who will likely visit Indiana. This is a lot of Rod Clark's connections that'll likely get Indiana in the door. Kansas has been the team to beat. Missouri, another team that's actively pursuing there. So those are probably the other names that you'll see from a visit standpoint that'll likely come up here in the next, I would say, 30 to 45 days from at least a scheduled perspective. But a lot of those guys are looking to make spring or fall decisions. And then the big one is Jordan Smith Jr., teammates with Prince Alexander Moody on Team Takeover. Huge Kenny Johnson connection. This is one that's going to stretch out into the spring. So the fact that there aren't any visits set up there is not a bad thing. But the biggest thing is there. You want to be able to get him on campus. I think you'll be able to have that happen. But a top 10 player in the class, absolutely dominant on the AAU circuit this summer, and a guy who is going to have every single program after him, Duke, Kentucky, pretty much any school that is around. You can assume that they'll be pretty much in that recruitment here coming up in the next few months. So Indiana has a very solid core that they're going after. Now it's about obviously solidifying that when you can get a few more commitments. But again, the previous staff was always playing behind the 8 ball when it came to recruitments like this. This Indiana staff already have one in your pocket with Moody. You feel very good about where you stand with Latrell Allman. So now you kind of can see where this class can go and probably add again. You're going to add probably 4 from this class and then add the additional 4 or 5 from the transfer portal and feel pretty good about where you're coming out with the assumption, right, that you'll get some returners back next year.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that there are going to be several returners. I don't think you're going to see the departures that you have seen in the past, because I think guys are going to like the style of basketball they're going to get to play, unless they're just unhappy with their own personal minutes, which that could be the case. But I'm wondering if the staff is recruiting the type of kids who will battle more than cry. Instead of whining about it, work for it. And because that's the only way you're going to get better. And we'll see if more of those type of players have been recruited or not when that comes around. Not to be judgmental. I'm not trying to be that way, but because it's always best to look out for your own best interest to a degree. But at the same time, some of these kids are going to have to learn that they have to fight for position, fight for minutes, fight to get better. Because if you're not playing, it's probably because you're not working hard enough. You're not quite where you need to be. Who knows what it might be, but it's something that you need to do. but it's too easy for them just to take their ball and go home.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We haven't really heard right from any of the players yet to this point on the current roster here, and obviously there's no returning players to see kind of what this coaching staff is like on the court internally. But we did hear from Luke Goode, had an interview with local Fort Wayne News earlier this week, and he, we had reported that he had been practicing with the Indiana roster for about 3 or 4 weeks while he was going through his waiver process. And so he did talk a little bit about what Darren DeVries was like, and just mentioned the X's and O's, just how wise he is when it comes to a true basketball mind and the kind of strategy behind everything, but also talked about the kind of no BS system that he's going to run, the culture fits that he really brought in. And we had heard this, from people outside of the program numerous times throughout the coaching search. And then once he was hired and once he started to bring some of these guys in, even Darren DeVries said it, right? He's not going to sacrifice culture or fit for skill. And, very similar to what Curt Cignetti's talked about. And this is kind of the first time that we've heard this, though, from a player who's been able to be around the program, obviously knows what Indiana basketball is like, but then be able to practice a little bit with Darren DeVries and this new system, this new staff, and this new roster. So it was interesting to get that little insight from Luke Goode. But yeah, it's everything that we've heard up to this point, just kind of with an exclamation point there with Luke Goode and what he was able to talk about, because this staff, it was very much, even the players that they're recruiting right now for the 26 and 27 cycles fit exactly what they recruited here in the transfer portal, and then what they've done in the past. And that's all about culture. That's all about being able to find the fit off the court first and then put them together on the court in a very, very good system. So both things go together there. And it was just, I think, some good insight that Luke Goode had there to kind of emphasize the point that what we had heard up to this point from inside the program.
Yeah, and now what is Luke's plans for life after college basketball, at least?
Yeah, he's playing in the TBT, so he's playing with the Fort Wayne champs.
He is.
Yeah. So he said he was talking about how his trainer in Fort Wayne is one of the coaches for that team. So once he got the denial there from the waiver, he said that his agent gave him a call and said that everything checks out from a kind of eligible perspective there, and brought him on the roster. And he had already been obviously working out. He had been practicing a little bit with that group too, just during his workout. So yeah, he said he would be joining that team. I think he still plays on Saturday. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, we'll see if there's a potential matchup there down the line between Fort Wayne and obviously Assembly Ball.
Well, and we'll have to look forward to that because Butler has a team, but Purdue does not have a team in that this year. And actually, I was going to wait to talk about the TBT here in a little bit. But so what's the remainder of the summer look like for this Indiana basketball staff? The team has reported. Is Alexa Rizdick, is he now practicing with the team?
No, so he's still overseas playing in the U20 Eurobasket tournament, and he's been very, very productive over there. Second in the tournament in assists per game, doing a very, very good job. Serbia is in the semifinals, so they'll be playing Italy on Saturday for a chance at the title there come the 20th, which is the kind of wrap up of that tournament. After that, he will be making his way to Bloomington. So we'll be practicing for about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks before he makes the trip with Indiana over to Puerto Rico, and we'll play with them in there with the assumption, right, that everything is solidified from a visa standpoint. Which, talking to his agent, it does seem like everything is cleared. Doesn't seem like there are any big hoops to jump through to get him over to Bloomington and officially here on the U.S. Soil and in that Indiana facility.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, are we going to see a little bit more of a foreign pipeline with Indiana after this, because you've got this kid. Now you're going to Puerto Rico to play this Serbian group, of which you're going to open up more relationships, obviously, I would think. And so I would not be surprised, because this is going to be a massive thing in college basketball, period. You already see what Illinois has done, but just because of the money, there's going to be an influx of these guys, and it could be a good thing. I can ultimately see a rule of no more than 2 foreign players on a team like they used to have overseas. I don't know if the NCAA probably wouldn't do that, because they'd lose if they ever went to court for whatever reason, whether they were right or wrong. Doesn't matter. They're going to lose. But I would not be surprised if Indiana fans started to see a few more foreign players. But right now with the recruiting, it's not looking that way.
Yeah, and Drew Adams has a lot of really good connections overseas as well, so they're going to really build on that and really see what they can do. Mika Miranin is a 5-star prospect in the 2026 class who is playing in the U.S. right now, but from Finland, and so that's another name that has some of that international pipeline. But yeah, Indiana's going to prioritize wherever they can find talent and wherever they can find culture fit, and that's the biggest thing there. They're not going to put a box around where they can find that, because a lot of these international players nowadays are coming over and making a big impact right away. I mean, just look at Illinois' roster. For the most part is made up entirely of at least the main part of that rotation of international talent. North Carolina added international talent. Virginia Tech, probably a handful of other ones. Virginia did as well. Pitt did just yesterday. So there's so many different international routes that you can go from, landing these players. Obviously, Michigan did. So the biggest thing, though, is getting the visas approved and bringing them obviously over here and making them eligible, because there's obviously more hoops that they need to jump through from that standpoint to be eligible. I think it was a Kentucky with Big Z 2 years ago that didn't find out his eligibility until 2.5 weeks into the regular season. So it's, who knows what happens with the NCAA, and who knows kind of those timelines on a lot of different things. But the international route is definitely very open for not just Indiana, but all of college basketball. And that's the route that Indiana is going to continue to push. And wouldn't surprise me if you continue to see one international player, maybe not every class, right, but every other cycle from that standpoint.
Yeah, and it's something that you're going to have to get used to seeing, because we're going to see a lot more of that. But Indiana fans also, they're going to want to see a mixture of some Indiana kids in there as well. I know, so it's going to be a tough deal each year when you're trying to get the best Indiana kids, you're trying to get some foreign kids, you're trying to get just the best kids overall. Recruiting is going to be probably have a different view for the next few years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the staff is probably as well connected as you can be from an Indiana basketball staff that we've seen in recent times. And the biggest thing is just the involvement of Darren DeVries from step one. And I know we've talked about that numerous times, and so have a lot of other people, but just his emphasis to get involved very early on in these recruitments and push them to the next step a lot quicker than what we saw previously. So the staff is not going to be short of connections. The staff is not going to be short of both international and high school relationships. And then obviously, even if that doesn't help you out in that first recruiting cycle, we know how many kids show up in the portal every single year. They know exactly where they want to go before their name even hits. So a lot of that stems from these conversations when they're sophomores, juniors, and seniors in high school. And just because they don't commit to that school right away does not mean that they're not going to come back around the second time and ultimately make that decision to come to Indiana or wherever that may be. So relationships are still one of the biggest drivers in recruitments, regardless of NIL, and that's exactly what this staff is doing from day one when they put together the staff and got on campus.
Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com with us right now. We'll take a quick break and then come back for a short segment. We'll talk about the TBT that gets underway tomorrow at Hinkle Fieldhouse. You can go see some former Hoosiers and in an incredible venue at Hinkle Fieldhouse. Back with more after this.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's C-O-Y-L-E, to receive a discounted fundraiser. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Jim Coyle with you as always on this Friday. Man, I'm happy to say that. It is Friday. Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com with us. And if you haven't gotten your subscription yet, you're late. Go get it. $1 for the first month, 50% off your entire first year. And the content is nonstop. All of the recruiting action coverage live, and as well as Big Ten Media Football Media Days coming up next week. Before I get to the TBT, man, football season right around the corner, Alec. Big Ten Media Days next week out in Las Vegas kind of kicks things off. Kurt Signetti made his presence known last year quickly. I don't think he'll need to make that kind of a presence this year to follow up, but I'm not sure if he'll slip an "I told you so" in or not, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, we know he'll have something to say, but I think
he loves it. He loves tweet.
Yeah.
He loves it.
And I think all the Indiana fans love it too. It's the first time, right, that you can have a coach talk a little bit and back it up, right, and then go
He's
into
Bob
the next
Knight-esque. He really is
Yeah.
Bob Knight-esque with a little more. I don't know. He's Bob Knight-esque. I'll just say leave it at that.
Yeah, so I mean, we all know that there's going to be something that's going to be said. I think he's probably going to have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder once again with some of the doubters that are coming into the summer and obviously this fall. But yeah, it'll out in Las Vegas, right? It'll be a little bit weird, right, from the Big Ten's perspective out there, but will be fun nonetheless. We'll obviously have multiple staffers out there covering that next week, and then after that we get into Puerto Rico, and then after that, I mean, fall camp starts here in 11 days, right, for Indiana football, 12 days here. So football's back in full swing. Basketball will be there before we know it, and obviously just a little over a month before that first game of the college football season.
Well, we'll get a look at Indiana basketball really before we get a look at Indiana football because of the games that will be played down in Puerto Rico that are only a couple weeks away as well. Fall camp will get started for Indiana, but that's not a true look. You're not seeing anything. This will be a true look of the IU basketball team right now as they are. Not that this is how they're going to be because they've only been together for a month, 5-6 weeks. So this is not, it's going to get better, get different, but we'll get an indication of how they compete with other teams and more importantly, how they're going to be structured.
No, absolutely. And I think, with the leadership that's back from a I guess more of a Tucker DeVries and Connor Enright perspective. When you look at the two players who have played for Darren DeVries, you're going to have that at least familiarity that's been transferred over the once we get to Puerto Rico over the previous 7 weeks of practice time there, and you're going to get the extra practice time leading up to it, the 10 days extra of practice with an international trip. So it's exactly what you want from an Indiana fresh roster and fresh coaching staff. But you're going to be able to really see kind of that foundation set in place. Not so much maybe, exactly where you plan on seeing Indiana come January and February or even March. But it's going to be, a good starting point to see, one, this team play hard, because everyone that we talk to, everything that you hear from Darren DeVries teams, they play hard and they play together. And that's the thing that'll, I think, expedite this process with 12 new players, and then obviously bringing in Alexa Ristich, 5 weeks after most of these guys got on campus, just to be able to bring him in, and kind of the leadership aspect then from a lot of these older players who are 21, 22, even 23 years old, their last chance of playing college basketball here, going for a chance at really being the foundation of this next culture setting movement in Indiana basketball. I think a lot of these players are going to take that to heart, and you'll really see it an entirely new program really step foot once we get to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I think I don't want to use the word pressure, but I would imagine that Darren DeVries feels a little something of when he puts this team on the court for the first time, that he wants to make an impression, so to speak. Not that this is how it's going to be. Like I said, they've only been together for 6 weeks at most, but he's like Signetti. He's going to want to make that right first impression.
Yeah, absolutely. I think at the same time, though, just like Kurt Signetti was, they don't really care about what anyone outside of those 12 players think about, and then outside of what the coaching staff thinks about. I mean, he's not someone who is going around and doing a media parade here. It's funny, they were, I believe it was this past day, yesterday, during one of the high school or one of the AAU games. They were trying to get him on, Darren DeVries, on the broadcast, and they couldn't because he was just bouncing around from game to game. He's not someone who's going to be, really parading around. That's not his personality, and that's the one difference there from Kurt Signetti. Kurt Signetti, albeit not a guy who I think loves doing media per se, his personality fits that, and he likes to take full advantage of being able to kind of nip people in the bud about all the negative comments that have come about, Indiana football in the past. So I think Darren DeVries is going to go about it a little bit of kind of a different way, but I think their overall end goal is still the same, and they don't care about what other people are talking about outside of those walls and the guys in the program.
Absolutely. And that trip to Puerto Rico just around the corner, beginning on August 5th, the first game on August 6th, I believe. So, and they'll play 3 games down there. The teams that they're playing against, what level is this compared to what Indiana is?
For the international trip?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're going to be going up against some professionals in this sense, but it's a much different level than what you would see anywhere else. This Indiana team is going to have, from top to bottom, more just true talent, but a lot of these teams have played together multiple years before, so they're going to have the continuity and the chemistry there. Most of these college teams that make these sort of trips tend to win most of these games. If they drop a game, though, it's not the end of the world, because, again, the biggest thing is continuity versus an entirely new roster. So Indiana's going to have the talent to compete. It's just a matter of if they come together and are able to play together from day one.
Yeah, we'll certainly see that. The TBT happens beginning on Saturday. Indiana's first game, the Assembly of Ball, is at 4 p.m. Purdue does not have a team in it this year, and I know there was a piece in the Indy Star, I did not get to read it, as to why that they're not playing this year. Do you know?
Not sure. I would probably assume, and this is just an assumption, right, that it's like Indiana was 2 years ago. Just not enough players who can fill out the roster. Probably some injuries of guys who were playing overseas and just contracts like that, because that's what slipped things up for IU's roster 2 years ago. That pushed it out to making their debut last year. So that would be my assumption, but not entirely sure from a Purdue standpoint.
Yeah, we'll find out. But there's still a lot of Indiana connections. You've got the Fort Wayne team. Goode will be playing on. Also, Fail Harder. Someone mentioned, I didn't realize Kyle Guy had put that team together. So more Indiana connections. So plenty of Indiana connections there.
No, absolutely. And I mean, none better than Assembly Ball, where you get Yogi Ferrell back. You get James Blackman. I know a lot of fans are going to be excited to see that. Obviously, Troy Williams should be healthy enough to play this year. Al Durham is going to be back, which I think is going to be exciting for a lot of fans too. Jordan Hills is still going to be part of it. Noah Vonleh was added to the roster. We'll see if he ends up playing. He was on the roster last year. But Miller Kopp, Juwan Morgan, a lot of the guys who were at least on the roster last year will be back. And then you get Julian Gamble, a guy who was on the roster last year, obviously didn't go to Indiana, but really embraced the Indiana fan base and had a lot of really, really good things to say last year, playing in front of this crowd that obviously you'll see what'll be probably the majority Indiana fans come Saturday from that standpoint. So another roster that's very deep from a talent perspective and got better with some of the additions. I think if you're looking at X's and O's from a roster standpoint, the biggest thing they missed last year was additional players who can score and create off of the dribble. You add in Al Durham, you add in James Blackman. I think to pair them up with Yogi Ferrell, right, that's going to be an extremely fun trio and ability to not only get out in the open floor, but obviously knock down some shots. Right, you're not gonna struggle to see this team find some open looks from three. So it should be a fun matchup, and will be fun to see. Race Thompson and Troy Williams, if they're healthy again, to be playing with this roster.
And the Hoosier.com will be there to cover that as well.
Yep, absolutely. And we'll be there later today in Carmel. I believe it's at Buffalo Louie's, the media availability as well. So there's, I think, six of the guys that'll be made available. So we'll have all that up on the site and some pregame coverage tomorrow morning and tonight leading into the game.
Alec Lasley from the Hoosier.com. Cannot thank you enough, brother, as always.
I appreciate it, Jim. You have a good Friday.
Have a great weekend. Alec Lasley from the Hoosier.com joining us. More coming up next. Zach Osterman from the Indy Star when we return.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Jim Coyle with you as always on this Friday. So happy to be here with you. Zach Osterman from the Indy Star should be joining us here in just a little bit. Look forward to that as several pieces out by them, and especially in regards to Indiana recently canceled that series with Virginia in football. And there's some scuttlebutt about that. Just talk about that because Indiana's non-con schedule is what it is. But they have a 9-game Big Ten schedule. I don't understand why the scrutiny for Indiana when this is a very common thing. Look across the SEC. They have 4 non-conference games, okay? I don't care if they play one against a Power 4 school. Big deal. The other 3, I guarantee you they got cupcakes. They all do. Everybody does. So it's just ridiculous to try to reach out and get on there. So when Zach's able to join us, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about it now, though. So I don't care. They're going to play, those games to warm up. That's what they are. You start the Big Ten season against a ranked Illinois team, followed by 2 road games at Iowa and at Oregon. You know what? That's already a tougher schedule than many schools are going to play the entire season in some conferences. So do they have to play 10? You want them to play 10 legit tough games out of now? I know that some of the conference games are going to not be tough, but you never know who is and who is not going to be good anymore. You never know what team. We don't know what Iowa's going to be like yet. Still looking to see that. They've got a new quarterback. You think that they're not trying to get better? They're the model of consistency. They have just gone to bowl game after bowl game. They are used to winning 8-9 games a season. They've done it for decades. Other teams want to do that, but when you're building a program and you already have these games, why build in a tougher one? But Zach Osterman, the IU insider for the Indy Star, joining us now. Zach, I was just talking about Indiana football and the scheduling, the canceling of the Virginia series, and how I don't really care. It doesn't mean much to me that their non-con games are not against Oklahoma or whomever, these tough teams. They're already playing a 9-game conference schedule. And while some SEC fans may bicker about that, there are plenty of SEC teams that have 3 of their 4 non-con games against cupcakes just like this.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm looking at Georgia's right now. Georgia plays Georgia Tech, obviously. And one of the reasons I think that culturally, obviously there are competitive and financial reasons too, but one of the reasons I think culturally the SEC has resisted a 9-game schedule is because so many of its rivalry games are crossover games. The Georgia Tech, Georgia, FSU, Florida, South Carolina, Clemson, and so forth.
Louisville.
But, Georgia's other 3 games are Marshall, Austin Peay, and Charlotte. Is that a tougher schedule than, playing 9 games in the Big Ten and 3, relative cupcakes in your non-conference? That's debatable. I think, Kalen DeBoer, somebody actually, in his defense, this was in response to a question about the SEC going to a 9-game schedule. And he basically just kind of said, we'd like to play as many competitive games as we can. But in that answer, he said, we're going to play Florida State and Wisconsin this year. We're not shy about competitive non-conference games, but it's worth pointing out, especially as it pertains to Indiana, and nobody was asking him, DeBoer, no one was asking Kalen specifically about IU, but I saw some people using that answer as, and when I say people, I am talking about anonymous Twitter accounts. So again, take that with a grain of salt as well. But
Yeah.
I saw that kind of getting used in the IU argument, and I thought, well, those two teams went 7-17 last year, and that's not Alabama's fault any more than it was Indiana's fault that their schedule looked awfully difficult at the beginning of last season, and it just turned out to be uncommonly weak. And I suspect, even as conference realignment imbalances conference schedules, because the more teams we put in a conference, the less likely we are to see, fellow championship contenders play one another or play similar teams annually. Indiana's schedule last year is probably still going to be an outlier. I don't think the conference is going to be that stratified where there's like 4 teams that are clearly above everybody else, maybe 1 or 2 teams that are at least in kind of a best of the rest conversation, and then just a whole bunch of kind of average. I wrote something yesterday where I just said, we're treating these are all symptoms that we're treating like the problem. Until college football can agree upon a playoff format that we're not constantly debating and revising and changing every 5 years anyway, and then B, come to some sort of agreement on scheduling equity, how many non-conference games every conference plays, what role conference championships play in this, whether there are rules about how you can schedule in the non-conference or not. Teams are just going to have to do what's best for them. Indiana devised this strategy long before any of us would have seen the Hoosiers as a serious playoff contender. And I think it's worth saying, through all of this, I think one of the things that has probably gone most undersold is Indiana saw the strategy work out last year. Those 3 non-conference games were nice tune-ups for more important Big Ten games, obviously with the UCLA trip kind of wedged in there, and Indiana still made the playoff despite the fact that it didn't challenge itself in the non-conference. So, in terms of learned behavior, Indiana can look at that and say, that strategy worked for us. Why would we change it? And I don't think that means they're never going to play a power opponent in the non-conference. I think that Notre Dame series, for example, there might be more appetite for keeping that around. But, this strategy predates the current head coach, and the current direction of the program, and I don't think it's going to change.
And the program will be on much better footing by the time that Notre Dame series rolls around. It's on pretty good footing now, but it's heading in that direction, and they have a schedule. There is no way that people can argue about Indiana's schedule this year at their first Big Ten game against a will-be-ranked Illinois team. Then you go back-to-back road games at Iowa, at Oregon. I think that is more than enough. Because both of those teams, or at least Oregon, expected to be, I don't know if they'll be a top 5, but they're definitely going to be a preseason top 10 team. Penn State, a road game at Penn State, some people's preseason number 1. So, and you can't control UCLA on the rise. You don't know what Wisconsin's going to be like. Luke Fickell's, this is his 3rd season. So, like you said, you can't control that. You can't control that Michigan wasn't the reigning national champion that they would have appeared to have been on paper. And Washington also played in that national championship game. So, it just didn't work out last year, but I don't see that even being an issue this year. So it doesn't matter to me. They're going to be challenged like everybody else, and they'll have their opportunity to put their best foot forward. And I think that this schedule should put that to bed, personally, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, listen, nothing's going to put this to bed. Like this is one of the arguments du jour of our time. And again, all of this is symptomatic of the larger issue, which is that we have a set of power brokers here in the sport, and I'm thinking about, to one extent, the 4 power conferences, the 4 autonomous conferences, and to an even more narrowed extent, the Big Ten and the SEC, who are unquestionably kind of, 1A and 1B, however you want to arrange it, in terms of their sway and, power and authority and autonomy. And we can't get those groups to agree on a unified vision for what this is supposed to look like going forward. But the issue is everyone is compelled to buy into a unified vision of how you decide who a national champion is. You have to go through the playoff. You have to sort of submit yourself to the committee process, which I think is fine. Like I have really very few problems with the committee. Like there are so many sports in college athletics that have decided the makeup of their postseason annually for generations via committee. It can work just fine. But everyone's got to use the same access points to get to the playoff, but no one can agree on what the playoff should look like or how or what the right sort of path is to get there. We're not that far removed from a world where the Big Ten went to 9 games and still required its teams to play a Power 5 opponent in the non-conference every single year and said you can only schedule FCS games in seasons where you have 4 home games, because obviously with the 9, sometimes you have 5, sometimes you have 4. You can only schedule an FCS team in years where you have 4 home games. And by the way, that was actually backing off of the original sentiment, which was the Big Ten is never going to play FCS teams again. That was all 10 years ago. We are not that far removed from that being the Big Ten's philosophy. Things change. The sport is trying to change with it, but everyone, as long as everyone's acting primarily in their own self-interest, that change is going to come stubbornly and slowly and painfully. And it's going to lead to a lot of this. It's going to lead to a lot of, our schedules are tougher, so our 9-win teams are better than your 11-win teams. Or, you don't play these teams here, but you do play those teams over there. Or how come you lost to Kentucky? Indiana would never lose to Kentucky. Listen, we can't solve every hypothetical. And I don't know if I love the NFLification of college football so much. But if we are going to have this process, if we are going to have a uniform process in terms of a playoff that leads us to a national champion, we really ought to at least consider, the NFL has strict scheduling guidelines that everyone adheres to. There are there are 6 divisional games. You play this number of crossovers. We do the thing in the off season where we match up 1 versus 1 and 2 versus 2 and 3 versus 3. So at least in theory, the best teams from the previous year get tougher schedules than the worst teams from the previous year and so forth. Until we can get to a place where we are kind of willing to agree on a lot of that, then we're going to keep having these debates. And listen, these debates are also a little bit ephemera. They come up twice a year, once during the media day cycle, when every conference gets up and makes its case for why it's the best, and everyone else is sort of staring up at our conference and why we're the best conference and our commissioner is the best commissioner and our rules are the best rules and so on and so forth. And then the moment when we select the playoff and we have to find some point of debate for why the teams that are 10th, 11th, and 12th should not have gotten in over the teams that are 13th, 14th, 15th, and sometimes even 16th. And that's just that's also just inherent in the nature of all this. If we go from 12 to 16, then we'll just be having these arguments about what the teams, the 15th and 16th place teams did that weren't as good as 18, 19, 20. That is just the nature of it. But, still.
No doubt.
We're sitting here talking about it on Friday morning, July 18th. It did its job.
Exactly. And Greg Sankey has at least come out and said he favors the SEC going to a 9-game schedule, but they have got to get the coaches on board with that. And eventually they're going to have to give, because the only way that the Big Ten and the SEC, who are the 2 power brokers, are going to agree on this expanded playoff model is if everyone is on a level playing field. And it's not just the SEC, the ACC also not playing a 9-game schedule. But I think that they will give into that because they would rather play an extra conference game to ensure what they think ensures themselves more spots in the national playoffs.
And this is, this is where you kind of get into the playoff format as well. Part of the argument for more scheduling restriction or more sort of scheduling requirement is that the Big Ten wants the 4 plus 4 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 3. So 4 auto berths, and this is a 16-team playoff. 4 auto berths for the Big Ten and the SEC, 2 for the Big 12 and the ACC, 1 for a G5 team, and 3 at large. The SEC has been, I would say, tepid in its support of that. The rest of the conferences, understandably, have said that's a terrible idea. We just need to do 5 plus 11. Everybody gets an auto berth, and then there are 11 at-large teams. You can kind of see it both ways. Like there will be people who argue and have argued that part of the reason the Big Ten wants the 4 plus 4 is so that it can guarantee itself a level of safety in the event there is like an Indiana that has an outlier resume where it's like, yeah, look at the Goode's really good, and but it's so it's so much of it's empty calories and all these wins that against teams that aren't very good and blah blah blah. The flip side to that though is if you don't have any sort of scheduling, I don't want to say protections, but requirements or even guidelines and some uniformity across that, like you talked about the SEC going to 9. And then, again, there are going to be SEC coaches that say, well, I have to play Clemson every year. So if you're taking me to 9, in effect, you're taking me to 10. What's going to stop? The critics might say that a 4 plus 4 model ensures the Big Ten doesn't have to sweat in Indiana that has an outlier resume. But the flip side of that is, I think if I'm Dabo Swinney at Clemson, I'm going to look at it and I'm going to say, I got to play South Carolina, or excuse me, if I'm Shane Beamer at South Carolina, I'm going to look at it and say, I got to play Dabo Swinney in Clemson every year. So you've effectively just given me 10 conference games. Even if I go 9-3, what's to stop a team doing what Indiana did? And just loading up on cupcakes and then, just kind of blowing away a bunch of bad teams in their conference. And now they're ahead of me. Well, if we had some protections or if we had some uniformity, maybe the field would be more level. And, it's also difficult because you talk about the NFL model, but the difference, of course, is the NFL is all under one umbrella. Everyone is basically required to kind of negotiate the solution that and vote on between owners and things, these structures and guidelines. And then, of course, crucially, I think this is probably a really big part of it. The NFL's TV deal is an umbrella that casts over everyone, whereas the Big Ten has its own TV partners. The SEC has its own TV partners. The ACC is also in league with ESPN. The Big 12 has stronger ties to Fox, but doesn't. Nobody's got a CBS except the Big Ten. Nobody's got NBC except the Big Ten and Notre Dame. So, because the TV piece of it, because the TV companies or the TV networks have become such a power player in these kinds of discussions, because if you're going to go to 9 conference games, ESPN's got to be ready for that, and they'll probably welcome it. But that's still an extra round of conference games they've got to go out and package and sell and produce and broadcast and so forth. The fact that those entities are not necessarily always working toward the same common goal either just creates another layer of difficulty. And yeah, I mean, it's tricky. But on the other hand, here's the deal, man. Did anyone think that at the end of last season we weren't watching the two best teams in America play for a national title? And did anyone think that the best team in the playoff won the national title? Did anyone not think that? Because I think
they had the toughest schedule through the CFP.
Yeah. Like I think we all felt that by the end. So we're all sitting here and we're talking about this, and we're talking about it because we have to have something to talk about, and because college sports will always be parochial. We will always, we'll always be tribal. We will always argue that our way is the best and their way is the worst. And don't get me wrong, I laugh at the memes just as much as anybody. But at the end of the day, we're going to be fine. Like in the in the grand scheme of like what is threatening college sports right now, how many conference games the SEC plays in football is probably not in the top 5.
You got that right. What's up next for you, brother?
I think we'll probably be getting into some of this TBT action over the weekend and into next week. So it'll be
interesting to get to. Make sure you're giving Zach a follow and being a subscriber to the Indy Star. Keep the local papers alive. Appreciate you as always, brother.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Jim.
Thank you, Zach. Zach Osterman, the IU Insider for the Indy Star. Up next, the shot father, Todd Larry, joins us on the other side. Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, back with more after these messages.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC. Local lives here.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. Glad to have you along. Todd Larry joining us now from the road.
Mobile unit.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Yourself?
I cannot complain. Thanks a lot. Todd played with us Monday. We played in the outing, Dan Dockage's outing, and if it wasn't for Todd, I don't know if we'd ever hit a putt, because it wasn't his putting, but it was his approach shots that were putting us on the money. Mr. Approach. That's what your name should be now, Mr. Approach Shot.
Approachable.
Yeah. Approachable and coachable. There you go. There's a new statement. How's your week been, man?
It's been good. Dodging a lot of rain, that's for sure.
I'm telling you, man, it's an unusual amount of rain for the month of July. It's usually hot and sticky, but just hot and sticky. It's been hot, sticky, and wet.
Boy, is the corn going to be good this fall.
You know what? That is no lie, because that stuff is green right now, man.
Yeah,
it is green. All kinds of sweet corn. See, your mind is always going in the right direction. I didn't even think about that, but my, oh my, does that sound good right now?
Yeah, some fair fried corn or whatever it is they do with that stuff that they just hand it to you and it's all buttered up and salted up.
Inside of a Snickers bar?
Does anything taste better than that?
Yeah, a corn cob wrapped around with a Snickers bar wrapped around it, or something stupid.
Right. Yeah.
What there was something I saw. Oh, someone came up with a donut burger.
I
I'm
saw that.
like,
Yeah. I saw
I was like, my heart almost exploded just listening to that. I'm like, I'm not Mr. Healthy. I try to eat as healthy as possible within reason,
I
but
ate a salad once.
yeah, I'm not sure if I liked it, but no. I try not to eat terribly, but at the same time, I'm not going to pass up something good. That I don't know that I would. I try not to eat donuts because I know that they're not the best thing for you. They're just nothing but a big waste of nothing going in you. Boy, it was hard passing those donuts up at the golf outing the other day. I'll tell you that because there was
The
plenty of
donuts,
them
the
in the
pizza, the ale emporium. My gosh. We didn't play very good, but we sure ate well at that.
Hey, I didn't pass up those Ale Emporium.
No,
Is that where
I didn't
those
either.
sliders came from?
No, the sliders I think were just some dude cooking burgers. And
Oh
those
no,
were
the Ale
incredible.
Emporium had
They had the wings and they had the
oh yeah,
teriyaki
that stuff.
wings. Yeah.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
stuff. Good
Real
time.
nice.
Good time. The weather was good, so glad to have that. Looking forward to that. And then, of course, this weekend basketball, the TBT happening. I'm sure you probably won't have time to attend that, but are you going up to that by chance?
I'm not, but I'll watch it.
The good thing is it's on TV, so you will be able to take that in. I think Fox Sports 1, Indiana's first game's at 4:00 tomorrow afternoon. A lot of Indiana connections in that thing, although Purdue does not have a team. And I've been telling people, I know that there was an article, I think yesterday, explaining why, and I did not get to read that, and I still haven't been able to. So I don't know why Purdue does not have a team this year.
I don't either. I didn't read it.
Butler has one. Kyle Guy's got one with the Fail Harder, and then Fort Wayne even has one. So a lot of Indiana connections. Luke Goode is going to play for the Fort Wayne team.
Well, I was disappointed last year, and I mean, I'm not trying to act like the thing isn't cool, because I do think it's pretty cool. But last year's Indiana team was not really an Indiana team like that.
No,
I just didn't enjoy watching it because it just wasn't. I mean, I think it wasn't Yogi on it, but outside of that,
I think that they were just trying so hard to get that thing put together that it took that to make it happen. Although this year, complete difference. It has a distinct Indiana flavor with Juwan Morgan, Yogi, Troy, James Blackman Jr., Al Durham. I'm trying to think of whom. I'm sure I'm missing a couple of them, but there's some of the bigger names that will definitely be playing for them, and be fun for people to get to see guys like Yogi and who's played in the NBA, Juwan Morgan, who had a cup of coffee in the NBA as well. Troy Williams, I think, didn't he play in the league?
I think so. I think he played with Atlanta maybe for a little while, or at least bounced around with some 10-day contracts. It's just, I'm one of those people, like, this is where, I mean, I should just keep my mouth shut, but I'm just too stupid to do that. Like, I don't enjoy watching guys that are not capable of playing in the NBA anymore. I don't enjoy watching those TBT things that much, or the 3-on-3 things where those guys, Steven Jackson and those guys, are just fighting with each other all the time and all that. I mean, if they put them in an MMA fight and let them just go out there and battle, I'll watch that. But I mean, watching these old fat guys play basketball is not like I can go to the Monon and watch that.
Yeah, I don't. Now, fortunately for Indiana, I don't think they got some fat guys on there. You've got Miller Kopp's another name,
you know what
currently
I mean.
playing in the G League. Oh yeah.
Why? I just don't enjoy it. Like, I mean, British Open's going to be on this weekend. Like, I was zero chance I watched the TBT.
$1 million take all, winner take all too, man. So everybody fighting for the one prize. Second place gets you nothing. Second place is you're just Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, and hey, that's a tough situation. Like, that's where I think that was the lure to it at the beginning, where, you know, you're playing for everything. Like, these guys are fighting for their life because, you know, if you don't win the whole thing, like, you wasted your time and effort and energy and all of that. So, yeah, I mean, that I think was the lure at the beginning. It's not great basketball. I know it's this time of year, But I thought that's why the WNBA kind of made their schedule the way it is, so that this time of year when it is kind of sparse for TV viewing of athletic events, like that was the thing to watch there. And I will be honest with you, I'd rather watch a WNBA game than the TBT.
Woo, that's strong. What about a WNBA game without Caitlin Clark?
Still probably rather watch that.
Oh man,
there's a chance
yes,
at a good fight. There's a chance at a good cat fight in one of those games, and pulling hair and all kinds of stuff. Like,
yeah, there's definitely a shot at a fight with those here of late. Man, Caitlin Clark not getting to play in the All-Star game. I don't know if she aggravated or just had a separate groin injury, but out again, and she's going to be replaced by Alexi, I think, for
well, this league
Fever.
this league is going to do one of two things, and this is totally just my opinion. Might not even be close to accurate. This is my opinion. They're going to do one of two things. They're either going to start protecting Caitlin Clark and a couple of other of the big stars, faces of the league. They're going to start protecting them from fouls and injury, or those people are going to get injured. They're not going to be able to play anymore, and the league is going to fold in 4 or 5 years, because they protect LeBron. They protected Michael Jordan. They protected all of the big name players over the years, and they're not protecting these girls. These girls are getting beat to crap out there, and their bodies. I'm not trying to act like anybody is more physically fit than anybody else, but neither are any of the other girls. And so that's just my soapbox for a minute on that. But the league is going to have to get that under control, or they're going to continue to deal with these injuries. And when Caitlin Clark doesn't play, you just said it, and I think you were kind of being facetious, but you're also being pretty factual when it comes to most Fever fans. I'm not going to watch as intently without Caitlin Clark playing. I'm definitely not watching the All-Star game without Caitlin Clark playing. So she is a big deal when it comes to the success of that league, whether you like her or don't like her. I wish she didn't play for the Pacers, because it sounds like I'm a homer from a Pacer or Fever person. I play for the Fever. I'm not even trying to be a Fever homer in this situation. She is on the Fever team. She is the face of the league. She's the most popular player, the female player that has ever even there's not a second place. Like, you can't even begin to dream up. Cheryl Miller's probably the second most famous female basketball player, and some kids nowadays have no idea who that is. So they better start protecting her, or it's going to be a bad deal for the WNBA.
Why has it taken that league? I don't know if they've still realized it or not, but why has it taken up till? Why have they not realized? Why have the players not seen the difference made in the money that's coming, in the things that has already changed, like their air travel, like their attendance? How can they be that blind?
Yeah, here's the only way that I can make any kind of answer that I think makes sense. When I was 22 to 30 years old, I'm not sure I could have stepped back and looked at the bigger picture of things. I know I wish I had thought things differently, said things differently, handled things differently, and made a lot of my decisions differently in that 22 to 30-year-old age range. And that's what most of these girls are. And I should call them ladies. I'm not being derogatory, but that's where they're at. Like, they're at that age where they're still trying to prove themselves. They're trying to prove they are as good as Caitlin Clark. And in a lot of cases they are. It's like watching Scottie Scheffler. I do compare Caitlin Clark and Scottie Scheffler a lot when I talk about these things, because they're not your prototype. Bryson DeChambeau or Tiger Woods, like, those guys' bodies look like physical athletes that they have put in the work and done all that. Caitlin Clark's not that. She doesn't look like she's ever lifted a weight in her life. Now, she most likely has 99.9% chance she does and all that, but she doesn't look like it. She's not like some physically fit crazy person. And Scottie Scheffler, neither is he. Like, he's got a goofy looking swing, but he is by far the best player in the world. And Caitlin Clark is by far the most popular WNBA player, not just now, but ever. And so, when you look at that scenario, I'm surprised that the other people in the league don't have people talking to them, and they may have that are saying, hey, look, embrace this time, embrace this Caitlin Clark thing, because if you get on that side of it, you're in way better chance of being successful than if you're one of the people sitting there trying to prove that you're better than her. Because physically you might be better than her, but what she accomplishes, you're not better than her. And you might as well just go along for the ride.
And there are a lot of different things in the WNBA that are affecting this as opposed to other leagues, especially when you go to the men's side. I think that the sexual orientation has had a major part of that. I don't give a crap what about any of that. I honestly don't. But the fact that it has seemingly had an impact is mind-boggling to me, and especially the way that it has used. Common sense would have said it would have gone the other way in society terms, but within that league, it's not.
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying.
Let's see. I guess it seems to be because
what seems to be
being a straight white person is not the best thing to be in that league. It seems like that has played a part in it, and I don't understand why. Because I don't care what anybody's sexual orientation is. I don't give a snot. It doesn't matter to me, especially when it comes to playing a game. It does not affect your ability there. I don't care who's what. I don't care what color. I don't care any of that crap. But all that different things, it seems like it has played a part in the WNBA.
Yeah, here's how much I can tell you. I don't care. I couldn't tell you anyone that's straight or not straight or anything. And I could not care less. I tune into the WNBA to watch them play basketball, see how much the women's game has evolved and gotten so much better. It's amazing to me how many good players there are now in the WNBA, and how quickly that transpired and happened. And the young girls nowadays, they're just going to get so much better so fast. And so, yeah, I think that plays a part in maybe some of the, I don't know, maybe some of the sponsorships or something. I don't even know. I don't know what that would play a negative role in expanding that league and getting that league to be bigger and better. I shouldn't have said expanding, because I've read the stuff where they're talking about expanding the WNBA even more, to adding some more teams. And I think that's about the dumbest thing they can come up with and do right now. They need to, I would cut a couple of teams out and make it a better product and better quality than try to just have more teams. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's not the business model that works. But to me, putting a more quality product out there, and I wouldn't even be opposed to, I think I said this on your show sometime in the last couple of weeks, that, the way that college basketball and men's college basketball is going right now, it won't shock me if as soon as maybe 5 years from now, there's not even NCAA basketball anymore. It's like a super league where you've almost got like some European teams involved in it and things like that. Like, that wouldn't shock me. I don't want it to happen, but it wouldn't shock me. But flipping that back to the WNBA, I do think the WNBA might benefit from creating a super league and having some of those overseas teams involved in it, turning it more into an international league rather than just, the United States WNBA versus, I just think that it's a little watered down. And I think that if there was a league that could benefit from maybe being more international, I think it's the WNBA.
Yeah, and that could definitely be done, feasible. I see it on the men's side, but on the women's side, is basketball as popular? It's hugely popular around the world with men. Does it carry that same with the women?
Yeah, and I to that level, no. That's why, the WNBA doesn't make the kind of money that the NBA makes. That's why the attendance level at a lot of these games isn't very good. The non-Caitlin Clark games. And so, that I'm not necessarily sure that internationally it would be quite as big and successful, but I do think for the people that play currently internationally, I do think it could be a bigger deal. Here's kind of, I'm going to forget her name, but who was the girl that played at Indiana a few years ago? She married the guy from Wisconsin. She plays like in Germany now or something.
Oh, gosh.
Tyra Buss.
Yeah, she was on your show quite often. And she was a big part of Indiana University basketball and all that. I mean, if she's playing on an international team and coming back over here and playing, I think there's a lot of girls or women that fall into that category that people would enjoy watching come back over here and play. You know, that her being able to play back in the United States and play against a lot of teams over here, like I could see how that could become more successful and things like that. But just add more teams to a kind of watered down league. I mean, you got teams right now that are not competitive at all. And I know you do in the NBA as well, but it's just more established. And I don't think you could have started the NBA out with, 30 teams the way it is now. I don't think you could have started the NFL out the way that it is now. It's got to build up to that point. And I know that is what the WNBA is doing. I just don't think expanding at this point and adding more teams is the right decision.
Yeah, that's 60 more. If you have a 15-woman roster, that's 60 more players that you're going to bring into the league. Well, there aren't that many players that are good enough to make these teams that solid now.
Unless they start going and plucking people out of overseas teams, I agree with you 100%. And that's kind of what I'm saying. Although instead of doing that and bringing, just plucking them out and starting new United States teams, make it more international. Make it a bigger deal. And I know travel would be a nightmare and all that, but I promise you, if you sat down in a room and tried to figure out those logistics, you get a team from Germany or Italy or Spain or whatever it is to come over here, in Japan, those teams to come over here and play, 6 or 7 games in a couple of week period and then fly back home and then get the teams over here to fly over there and play. Like, that's how I think they could expand that league better, faster than just trying to add, kind of a watered down. What they do with the team last year, I think it was out of Golden State, the Valkyries or whatever, where they just kind of plucked what you could protect players off of your team, like 5 or 6 players off your team, and then they could pluck players off of the bottom of your roster. Like, that's not going to make them, and they've been pretty good. Like, that they're 500 or right at 500 in the league. They've done fairly well, but that's not a sustainable model to go take 10th, 11th, 12th players off of a bunch of teams and be able
not when
to
you do it 4 times in a short period of time.
What's that?
Especially when you do it 4 more times in a short period of time.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So
you're taking just the worst, and it's getting, use the right word, watered down. Boy, you're taking the watered down version and you're watering it down even more.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like getting your drinks at the old Kilroy's when late at night when it was watered down and then it got watered down again and then they realized I didn't need anything else to drink and they just gave me water.
Oh man, that's a perfect segue. We got to take a break. We've got more coming up with the Todd Father right after these messages from our great sponsors.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemooreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum.
Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Welcome back. Let's see. I forgot where I was. Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, Todd Larry joining us on this Friday as getting you set up for the weekend. Dude, did you see the All-Star game? I know it was too late, the ending probably for you, but did you happen to watch the – because I would normally not watch this. This year I just happened to be watching, and it turned out to be a really good game, a fun game to watch. And then, of course, the end was the home run derby with Kyle Schwarber, Indiana's Kyle Schwarber, taking the MVP with 3 shots deep to the over the wall. But, man, that was a fun thing to watch. But more importantly, the Hank Aaron tribute was awesome. I highly suggest going back just to watch that 10-minute thing. It was very, very cool of his 715th home run there in Atlanta, which is where the All-Star game was this season.
Yeah, no, I did not see it, but you're pumping it up like I should definitely go back and check out some highlights of it because, I can't stay up that late. If it was past 8:30, I most likely didn't see it.
No, and normally I would not watch any All-Star game because they generally all suck.
Right.
But this one was entertaining, and so it did enjoy that. So you got that going. Indiana basketball, they've got a trip to Puerto Rico coming up soon, and the last time that Indiana went to Puerto Rico, to my knowledge, well, it wasn't Indiana per se. I guess it was just Bob Knight, and that didn't end up too well, but I don't think we'll have that kind of a situation this time as they have 3 games that they'll be playing. They've only been together 6 weeks or so, Todd, and now they're going to go down there in a few more weeks and play some guys that have been playing for a while. This should be a really good test for them to find out where they are as a team.
This could not be any better. I'm surprised, and I think it probably will get to this point where they will start allowing NCAA basketball in general, will start allowing all of these teams to do some of these things every year and play some of these. It's only going to help the basketball in November and December because right now all these coaches are going to be able to learn a lot about, the players and how they play together, which they probably don't know a lot. Yeah, they've learned some over 6 weeks. Every coach and player will tell you, you get better, you learn a lot. A lot goes into this practicing against each other thing, but until you go play in a game situation and you get other people defending you and that doesn't know your offense and you don't really know where you're at. You don't really know how good your team's going to be, but this is invaluable. And I think it'll make basketball better in November and December in the NCAA if all these teams are allowed to go do this. And when you're putting all new rosters together, hopefully they change that part of it so they don't have to do that. But until they change the portal situation where it's new rosters for all the top teams every year, it's just going to continue to be this way. And I hope that Indiana I think that this coaching staff is excited about the opportunity to watch these guys all play together and get on the floor together. The thing I was going to ask you, I could have looked it up. I just forgot to. Is it broadcast? Is there a way we're going to be able to watch it?
Nope. You could get coverage through the Hoosier.com. But none of these games are being shown. I'm a little surprised because it would have been a way to source of income, I guess. But I'm not sure that Darren DeVries wants this seen just yet because his team is so young. Don't put anything on film for opponents just yet. I don't know. I don't know the answer to why, but it is not going to be.
That's not going to be the reason why. That's not going to be the answer. And if it is, I'd be embarrassed. And that's not going to be the answer. There's no way DeVries is worried about other people seeing. They can go back and study his offenses and defenses and stuff over the last 10 years, and just as good information. They're going to get the same information they're going to get from these guys. So I don't think that's the case. It's probably just more of a logistics issue than anything. But I'm shocked somebody's not streaming this thing so that you can see it. Because
it's played at the Roberto Clemente Coliseum. You'd have to. It's not cheap putting on stuff like that. You have lighting and the sound and all the cameras, the cameramen and production. It's not cheap to do that stuff. So I'm not sure that they would get their money back, to be honest with you, on the cost of a production like that, since they're not playing other American teams. If they were playing some other American universities, more eligible to do that, and that's probably the reason you would be looking at one group of fans, Indiana, to foot the entire bill, and I don't know that they could get their money back.
You also got to understand, like, I know you do know this, but like Rock Hill, South Carolina, let's use the AAU Nationals, for example. I could log on there and watch every game that was being played down there. It doesn't have to be NBC or ESPN broadcasting it.
No.
One of these streaming services, and I'd be surprised if Indiana's fan base alone wouldn't be able to foot the bill on watching those games. I mean, you pay $5 or $10 to watch a game on there. I can assure you, I know hundreds, if not thousands.
Oh, I don't disagree with you.
That would watch it.
And you're right. Technologically, it's not that difficult anymore. Hell, I could almost do it off of my phone.
Maybe you and I should figure out a way to go down here and broadcast this thing.
I'm heading down, so
you're going down to it?
Yeah, I'll be down there.
All right, let's look into it. I'll look into it. We got it. You and I should broadcast this thing.
That would be fun as hell, I tell you. Yeah, it would be a blast, and I know that Indiana fans would love it because I've had several ask the same question that you did. Are these games on TV? Because very few fans are actually going to be able to attend. For one thing, not many people can take a week off to go down there at that particular time, and it's not exactly the cheapest thing you're going to do either.
Where is it in San Juan?
It's in San Juan. They will play the games. So it's where they
used to play the Puerto Rico shootout? Is that where it is?
Probably at the Roberto Clemente Coliseum.
I think that's.
I don't know that they have very many Coliseums down there.
Well, and like, how long was it? I know the time flies, but what was it? 2 years ago, that whole island basically got destroyed. So, yeah, I mean, if it's where the Puerto Rico shootout used to be, like, I have been there. I've broadcast the game from there before, when Indiana played there many years ago. So, hey, let's check it out. Let's see, because I would be. As I say that, then I start to go back to your original comment that I told you was no way that was true. And now I'm like, okay, well, no, I probably need to ask first, because maybe DeVries doesn't want it broadcast. Yeah, even though he's the head of Indiana basketball, he could not stop that from being broadcast if someone wanted to do it. But I wouldn't want to go against his wishes. So if he didn't want it broadcast, then I wouldn't want to be the one that did it. I know there would be a lot of people that wouldn't care. We would care, so we would not do it if he didn't want it. But I would definitely ask.
Exactly. Todd Larry, what's up for this weekend, brother?
Yeah, hopefully play a little golf in between the raindrops.
Boy, good luck with that. I know. I tried that yesterday just for 9, and we made it about 5.5, and that was it. So
that was some
may
serious
try it
rain
again
that
tomorrow.
came down last night in Bloomington. I don't know if you were around, but whew,
I was. Yeah, it. Couple of times.
Yeah.
But brother, enjoy your weekend. I look forward to looking into this. That would be fun.
Yeah.
But appreciate you as always.
Thanks, brother.
You have a good one. Todd Larry joining us on Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. Big thanks to each and every one of you, to Todd, of course, to Alec Lasley, and to Zach Osterman. Hope you guys go out, have yourselves an incredibly great weekend. We're back on Monday to do this all again. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. Enjoy yourself. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.